go ahead and get started. The topic today is goal scoring, and specifically, we're going to talk about the psychological aspect of goal scoring. And there's probably nobody better in Canada to speak about this topic than our guest today, who is also the executive director of the NSCAC, John DeBenedictis. And I won't give too much away, but again, with regards to this specific topic, the psychological aspect of goal scoring, John has written a book called The Last 9 Seconds, and he also teaches a course which is actually aimed at players to help them learn some of the principles that he teaches in the book and apply them. And he's got an excellent track record with players from across North America who have taken this course and gone on to score more goals in the amateur club environment, in the college environment, and even in the professional and international environment. So I've read the book. I think it's fantastic. Of course, we're not going to give everything away here today, but we're going to talk about that topic. And so I'll say, welcome, John, and maybe if you'd like, introduce yourself, but why don't you let everybody know a little bit about what stimulated this idea for you to research this topic of, again, the psychological aspect of scoring goals, and eventually to write your book and teach your course.
Thanks very much, Richard. Yeah, for myself, I used to play as a goalkeeper, and I'm not a very big guy, pretty short for a keeper, and so you're watching the game from behind the net, and I remember and I've been coaching a long time, and I had one of my players who was the leading scorer in the old National Soccer League minor division at U18. From there, we ended up going to the Robbie final, where coach of the old Toronto Blizzard was the color commentator. He scored a goal, got picked up, and his life changed within 3 weeks, where he was just a kid playing U18, U19, won a scoring title, didn't really get noticed, but then got noticed in front of the key guy, and was training every day with the first team. And then, unfortunately, the North American Soccer League, which is where Coach Bob Houghton coached him with the Toronto Blizzard, folded, and a lot of dreams were shattered. I spent a long time with this kid in terms of. Oh, sorry about that. I forgot to mute my thing here, my phone. So I spent a lot of time with this kid, 4 or 5 years, to teach him how to score and whatever. And then Canada was trying to qualify for the World Cup in '98. I think it was 96, 97, and one of the final rounds there, where I thought that missed some great scoring chances or didn't take chances. And I was so frustrated because we came so close, but we didn't make the World Cup. And at that point, I said, I don't understand how, players aren't doing better at decision-making to score more goals. And so as a keeper, I could tell you so many times, I'm doing the sign of the cross, please, don't shoot, you're going to score. And they don't shoot, or they miss the net when they shouldn't miss the net, or they make all sorts of stupid decisions. And I just couldn't understand it. So I figured there's got to be a better way to get a player to, change his mindset and maybe score more goals. So that's when I started watching tons of goals, putting my goalkeeping background into a strategy that maybe I could work with players who had the skill of passing, shooting, heading, but maybe weren't scoring enough. And can I put something together that I can change their behavior in terms of what they need to do to score? And I found that, and I call the book The Last 9 Seconds, because I wanted to look at what's going on in the mind of the player, 9 seconds or less, in many cases it's way less, before a golden or a good goal scoring opportunity presents it. What decisions are they making? What are they doing? And then how can I coach that mental aspect so that leaves a very powerful impression on the player, as opposed to, the usual things that coaches we teach, because we'll watch a game, we all know the mistakes players make, and then we try and correct them. Then they make the same mistakes. So is there a better way? Now, I got a degree in physical and health education. So we did sports psychology, sociology, all those things. So, and I took a course called Perception by Dr. Ian Howard at York University, who also ended up working for NASA, because perception, there's all sorts of things going on in the head and how you see things, all the different feel, see, hear, all those things. And I thought that fascinated me. And I said, maybe I could take some of the information that he had on perception and blend it in and figure out in our minds why players maybe are making some bad decisions. And quite often, they make bad decisions because they see things differently than they maybe really are. So that's where it all started, way back in '98. And it wasn't until 2003, after watching goals and doing experiments with reaction where I started a course. I presented it to coaches who were all kind of surprised at what I had to offer. And then they all said, well, I should work with my daughter or my team or whatever. And in the first couple sessions that I did with a small group, everybody scored a ton more goals. And I said, whoa, I got something here. I better maybe write it down before I did any more courses. So I've only worked with maybe 300 kids over since 2003. But the number of kids, I say kids, 14 years old, right up to pro, anything younger than that, they're not ready, who've broken records, improved their game, sometimes not just scoring, but also other parts of their game, because we work on with psychology. And then that extra goal, sometimes at the right time, or a few extra goals, just get you that opportunity to maybe get asked to go try out for a team that you wouldn't have if you had a score. I have a girl who we worked with in Ottawa, and Mike Lanos, this School of Brilliance, brought me up. And this girl ended up breaking a record for University of Ottawa, scoring record. And then from there, she ended up going to France, playing professionally in France. And about a year ago, this is now, this is like 6 or 7 years after taking the course, she played 6 games last year. That's all they were able to squeeze in with COVID. Scored 4 goals and caught the eye of the coach of the Lebanese national team, because her grandfather was from Canada, and now she's playing with the Lebanese national team. So a few extra goals at the right time in your career could elevate you faster, I think, than anything else. So there's a long answer to your question.
A great answer, and I'll say I'm muted when I'm not talking, just because where I am right now, there's a lot of construction going on. So if you guys hear some hammering in the background, I'll apologize for that. And again, I just want to mention, to everyone who is watching live, please don't forget, if you have questions, you can use the chat box in the Q&A. Should have mentioned that before. But back to what we're talking about, John, and I think you raised an interesting point, which I know is also like one of the first things you talk about in your book. Which is, if we're talking about especially younger players who maybe haven't, I don't want to say mastered, because it takes a long time to master any technique, but don't, let's say, have at least the basic fundamental skills, dribbling, passing, shooting, striking a ball, those kind of things. Of course, it may be difficult for them to then deal with, some of the topics that you're talking about. We expect that when we're speaking about these topics, the psychological aspect of decision making and how that affects goal scoring, and then within the the 9 seconds or less before a goal is scored. So if players have sort of developed basic technical ability, what is it specifically then about scoring goals? Let's say that does scoring goals require really advanced technique? Is that something that is that the limiting factor? Or is technique not so important, and is it just really more about decision making?
Yeah, so I'd like to break that down. That's a great question. There are some goals that are scored by players using superior techniques and skills that only so many players have. Sometimes Messi scores a goal because he's just able to create something.
Yeah.
I think we saw a goal in Euros just a few days ago. Modric scored a goal, just hitting the ball perfectly. That's a high technical skill type of goal that not too many players can do. Sometimes, what's his name? Ronaldo
Yeah.
is able to out jump people, and his technique in hitting a ball, redirecting it a goal is just phenomenal. So, I'm going to say that there are some goals that only certain players can score. But let's look at the rest of the goals. And when we look at the rest of the goals, possibly another 80%, they can be scored by any player on the field that can pass, shoot, and head the ball. Sometimes any of the other players have the skills to form that skill to put the ball in the net. Players even on a reserve team are good enough. Even a decent men's team, the skill of scoring is sometimes the same as passing a ball to an opponent.
Thank you for watching this short preview video from the National Soccer Coaches Association of Canada. To see the full video, plus have access to hundreds of other coaching videos, blogs, webinars, and podcasts, plus free and discounted coach education courses and other soccer merchandise, plus to have exclusive access to register for all future NSCAC conventions, both live and online, click on the link below to become a member of the NSCAC today. Also, please remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, as your continued support allows us to continue to provide coach education and coach development resources to soccer coaches across Canada and worldwide. Thank you again for your continued support, and we look forward to seeing you at future NSCAC events.